I decided, since I'd made those larger blocks, which are a little over 3.5 inches wide, I thought maybe I should make smaller ones. These are 2.25 inches square, and these are just alphabet letters only. These do not have symbols on them. I wanted to make something a little different. Same thing as with the others. If you plan them just right, you can actually make them spell out words like fold, because that one just came up, or J-A, if there's a C and a K that we can get to, we can do J-A-C-K. There's a C, but I don't see the K. But you could, when you make them, you could lay them out like I did here, but instead of laying them out alphabetically, lay them out to where the first letter of all your names is on the first column of blocks, and the second letter of each is in the second column of blocks. That way, when you get across all 6, every single block has every letter you need. Like if you did the name Jenny, J-E, you got J, E, N, N, Y. And if you got Paul, you got P-A-U-L. If you do Chris, you got C-H-R-I-S, but you would line them up. So when you got ready to sew them together, you wouldn't have to guess which block goes where. I didn't do that, unfortunately, this time. So that's why I'm having trouble finding things. But instead of doing the symbols that you see on some of the blocks, you can add another letter. Like if you have a name like, or you want the word cook, C-O, make another O, and then a K. Or you do another K here. So that way you can actually form words with the blocks, and they can become both play toys as well as educational. And being 2.5 inches square, it'll be a lot easier for a little baby to hold on to. Now notice by the time they're 6 months old and they're carrying these things, they have a tendency to put them in their mouths. Then they get all slobbery and sticky and gooey. But they are machine washable. I put them in a laundry bag, and I use a cool, gentle cycle and wash them with regular detergent. And when they're done, I set them on top of the washer to let them dry. Do not put them in the dryer because the plastic may not be too happy being in the dryer. But they wash beautifully because I've already tried it. The rest of the video is going to show you how to make them work. They are also similar to the ones in the first video I did, which are the bigger blocks. So if you're missing a part in this video, you can always go to the other video and possibly find the other information you need there. It's also on my website, stitchniche.com. I'm going to put a hyperlink on this YouTube video to the actual blocks on this website, so you can purchase them. I put them on for $1.50. I may even just drop them down to $1 because they're more of an educational toy, and it's something kids will enjoy, and it's done with plastic canvas. All you need is that, a pair of pliers, some jingle bells, a little bit of yarn, and a pair of scissors and a needle, and you have a toy that can be used by multiple kids at the same time. You can make 2, 3, 4 sets of these blocks and just have a whole bunch of them laying around. And that way you can form whole sentences. So let's get started, and I'll show you how this whole thing goes together. This is one of the pages that are in the pattern. This shows all the different alphabet letters that I did and the color combinations that I also did them in. Now you can do it like I did, where each block has the letter a different color than the outside, or you can do it to where the letter can be the same as your outside border. So in this case, you'd have a black border with a black L. In this one, you'd have a red border with a red A. It's entirely up to you how you like to put it together. This is what the pattern itself would look like. Each one of the, enlarge this a little bit for you. Each one of these little diagonal lines over an intersection represents a stitch. I'm going to show you how the stitch is done. Now I've also done this in the first video I did with the larger blocks. It's probably going to be a little more comprehensive than this one, so you can always refer back to the first one I did. But I just want to give you a little quick overview. Like I said, this is part of one of the pattern pages. There's one for every letter of the alphabet, plus the little things over here. In this one, I'm going to give you a quickie of how the actual stitch is done. It's the same whether you're doing a small block or a large block. I always like to start with the tail and knot it, because if I'm going to go down this, say this line here, I always like to have a tail below in my work. That way I can overcast the stitches over top that and hold it in place. So say I'm going to start right here. Now whenever you do the plastic canvas, you want to do what's called a continental stitch, where you're doing it on an angle, and you always go from the top down below, and you make sure you catch that tail in it. So let me get there. Let me do another one. So you go down below. Now it'll take you a little bit of time to get used to doing this particular way of stitching, but if you're used to doing needlepoint, then this is a very common stitch for you to do. Now if you look on the back, you can see how it's overlapping this tail, and it's going to hold it in place. You don't have to do anything special to get it or in place, because your thread is going to hold it and anchor it, I guess I should say. So after you get all the way to the bottom, I'm not doing any specific design, I'm just showing you some of the basics. Then you trim the tail off, and then you can do one last stitch. There you go. So now you've got the beginnings of, say, the letter L or the letter I. Now we're going to go across. So we're going to go across, we go to the top, which would be the top, and then you go to the one below on an angle. Same thing, you go in front and then back, in front, whoops, and back. So when you look at the back of it, it's filled in. The reason this is good is because it helps fill in any possible spots that might be open, because the yarn gets a little bit thin from the constant wearing it in and out through the fabric. Say you did it in what's called the half cross. Instead of starting from the top and going down, you start at the bottom and go up. Then you go across. See, that's the difference. Instead of going on an angle, you're going straight across on the back of your work. The front looks pretty close to the same. It's not as full. As you can see, it seems to be a little bit tighter in comparison to this. And if you look at the back, it's little dash lines. You try not to do that. It's always better, if you can, to do the continental, where you at the top and then go to the bottom. And then if you say you're going across, you want to go from, in this case, we go in this direction, so we'll go from the bottom to the top, because you always want to make sure that your thread on the back is angled. And you can tell once you look at it from the back side, as you can see, it's going on an angle. Also, which makes this nice, is because when you're finished, you have to anchor your thread, and it's easier to anchor your thread in these angled ones here, because you can really stick your needle right inside and pull it tight, and then you can cut it. Now if you wanted to do it in this, you can, but you really have to work at it to try to catch the stitches. And sometimes by doing that, let me trim this, it pulls them even tighter in the front, and you have more gaps on the side, and you don't want to see the plastic or holes between the plastic. Now when you get ready to start a new one, you can always go through an existing one. I always try to stay within my same color. I don't go underneath black with white or white with black or contrasting colors, because when you do that, you can see it through the front of your work. You just slide it up, turn it over, and then begin doing your design. Don't pull it too taut when you first start, because you'll pull it right out of your work in the back. But this keeps your work nice and neat in the front and nice and neat in the back. See, there it is right there. And if you had to finish it, you go through the back of your work again and trim it off. And that's how you would actually do your stitches, depending on what your pattern says to do, whether you want to do 5 straight across, or you do 6 straight across, or you want to do the 6 or 7 straight down. You just follow what the pattern says, and each one of the angled dashes there represents one of the angled stitches here. Now I'm going to show you a quickie on how to sew it together. Same thing, I always make my little knot. I put it about halfway down, then I come up to where I want to actually start my whip stitch. Then you put your 2 together, so you sandwich that thread in between your 2 pieces, and you go from the back to the front. It's called a whip stitch. And you just go through, let me get over here, the back one and the front one. Do it again, back one, front one. Or I can show it this way, back one, front one. You just want to go in each one by one as you work your way across. And you get to your tail, like we did before, trim it off, and then continue across. When you get to the end, I always open it up and put it between the 2 pieces, like that, so you don't really see it because it's between the pieces, and then go through the back. Now if you can't pull it with your fingers, because sometimes it's really tight, especially when you get further along, you can always use a pair of pliers, needle nose or regular, either one will work, and then trim your tail. And you got your first piece sewn together. Now I need to get some more yarn. I usually make sure I have a long piece to work with, so I don't have to keep cutting all the time. Oh, let me show you how see, it's hard to thread it this way, and I hate using needle threaders because to me they're a pain in the butt. Let me put this like this, so I just want to have something white underneath of it. So what I do is I lay the yarn across my needle, the eye, and pull it tight. So I have this little tiny dot between my fingers. Now don't relax it, because as soon as you relax it, you can't get your needle to go through. You want to hold it tight. And then place the eye of your needle right over top that little tiny spot. Slowly saw back and forth as you release your pressure. And there it is. That I found is the easiest way to thread your needle, or you can use a needle threader. It's entirely up to you how you want. I can't get this thing to twist. I need a little water on my finger. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. And then put them together. And I always do, whenever I can, 2 in the corner ones, but don't pull them too tight, because if you pull them too tight, then you can actually break the plastic canvas, and once you break the plastic canvas on a corner, it cannot be fixed. You have to redo the piece. And if you've done something really big or complicated, redoing the piece is definitely not something you want to do. As you see, it's just whip stitching, you might say. Let me get my second one. No, I don't want to do a second one. Okay. Now put your thread in between your 2. And pull it through the, having trouble staying in the view here. Let me move this way. Maybe now I can stay within the center of the video page. Okay, so I can go ahead and do this whole thing. This goes fairly quickly. As you can see, I'm already on my 4th piece, and there's only 6 to put together. Same thing, just keep repeating it over and over and over again. And when they're little pieces like these compared to the 2.5 inch size blocks, it does go a little faster. I sewed these four blocks together in less than an hour. This was the last block, so I thought I'd do that here on camera so you can see how I do it. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and refer to the other one that I did, which you're more than welcome to because it's a little bit different than this one. It has pictures on them, where this one is just the alphabet letters. Now, you can also put these together in such a way that you can make a word out of the blocks. Like here, I can have M-A-I-L. Now, if I had a girl's name or a boy's name, I could do that. Like, I don't know if I have the letters for it or not. Where's the H? Oh, unfortunately, the H is put on with one of the, there it is. Otherwise, I could do Chip, C-H-I-P. C-H-I-P for Chip. Or, there you go, Rip, or, you know, whatever. If you happen to have if you do it the right way, and before you sew it together, you actually set your pieces out. Like here, instead of doing them A, B, C, D, you would put each letter of the name like A-L-I-C-E, and then this one you would do, say, Charles, C-H-A-R-L, I can't do Charles, say Chris, C-H-R-I-S, and this one you could do J-E-N-N-Y. And then instead of using one of these, you make two N's, so you could do the word Jenny. And that way, as you sew these together, the first letter of everybody's name is on the first block, the second letter of everybody's name is on the second block. No, I did it backwards. But you get the idea. If you look at the first video, you can see I actually set them up that way. That way, this would be the first letter of the kid's name. This would be the second letter. So I guess this is the way you'd sew them together down. The first letters are all sewn together on one block. The second letters are all sewn together on one block. The third letters are all sewn together on one block, and all the way down. But you always have to have 6 pieces because a block has 6 sides. And since we're doing 5 blocks, you can't have any name longer than 5 letters. You can do one with 4 letters, and then you could put one of the symbols down here at the bottom if you wanted. Now, if you want to do one with 6 letters in the name, you can always do another complete block, set of blocks, or another block here with the next letter, and you can just keep going and going and going. You can make as many blocks as you like. Let's get back to this. Okay, now I've got 4 letters sewn together. Now at this point, we're going to sew the sides together to form the primary square. So we're going to sew it together this way. Let me enlarge this back up a bit. Oops, I didn't make my not big enough, so I have to do it very careful. You hold them together just like we did before. And as you see, I'm not doing anything different. Even though I'm sewing it together, it's still done the same way. Cut off the little knot. And just keep going till you get to the end, just like we were doing before. Now this one you can't do too well from the inside. You can, if you push it through, kind of from the underneath, you can catch it, but the needle's going to come up on top of your work. But as long as it's in there, see, it's buried, you won't be able to see it. Okay, now that part of the block is done. We have to sew the top on and the bottom, and make sure before we finish off the bottom, we put the bell in it, because without the bell, it won't be finished because you got to have the jingle. After I made the big blocks that were the previous video, I thought, gee, they're kind of big. They're like 2.5 inches across. What would it be like if I just made little ones that are about, well, can't even hold on to it, oh, just a little less than 2 inches across. So I thought I'd go ahead and make it. So I've got a complete set of the alphabet in the smaller size. And for the 4 that I don't have the letters for, you could either make an extra letter, because if the last name has, or the first name has 2 O's in it, you make a second O or a second F or a second N, and that way when you spell out the names, you'd have the extra letters you need. Otherwise, oh, here's one I forgot to finish. I didn't do the background on it yet. Guess I better do that. But for the odd ones, I made a triangle. Let's see, where's the other ones? I made a circle. I made, well, that's a diamond. There's your triangle, a circle, and a square. Where's my square? There's a square mixed in. Oh, here it is, in a square. So that way you can fill in any odd spaces like I did here with an odd one. That way you can make your full square. And I'm also going to add the jingle bells to it. And since I got each of them with different colored borders, I'm going to close them off with the same color like this. I'll do in red. That one I'll do in green. Of course, I'll do this one in blue with the blue. But I wanted to show you the Q. Well, I couldn't make the Q the way I wanted it. So let me get a needle here. So I thought I'd show how I'm doing the Q, because as it stands, the Q is really an O, but we have to make something go this way. And I tried several times making the little lines to go across, but they never really would come out right. So I figured we can do it a little bit different. So you go ahead and finish up the background just like we did here. And instead, we're going to actually go across this way. So we'll go in and go up 1 or 2, then go into the middle. You can do 2, 3, or 4 stitches and back down. And you go up to the next one and go in. And if you want, you can do one more. It's entirely up to you. And that gives you your Q. And of course, you would finish it off on the back like always. Now you can do it in the 4 little ones like I just did. Or you can do one long one and one long one. It's entirely up to you. But I just wanted to show you that's how I'm doing the Q, doing that crossbar after I've done all the border. I want to show what they look like when they're completed. So I'm working in reverse order. So first you're going to see them uncompleted, then you're going to see them completed. And I think in the beginning I'm going to do a little short showing everything completed and then jump into this one. So when you get ready to do the top, I always do the top first. It doesn't matter, the top, bottom, they all work out the same. I set my piece inside the work and hold it carefully because you want to make sure your ends line up. This was not hard to do because you can put your fingers inside your work. When you get ready to do the bottom one, it's a little bit more of a challenge because you can't put your fingers inside. Sometimes I set it on the table and I let the table act as my support. Other times I hold it close to my body, and that sometimes gives me the extra support I need. Okay, now to finish this, when you want to do 2, then you push the piece in with your finger, and then you catch the corner and do 2. There. And then you go across. You want to try to secure the corner the best you can, because when you're doing these pieces here, you're starting and stopping on either end, which makes it weak. If you can put it together in a way like in my first video, we can go do 2 sides at once, or say 2 or 3 sides at once, and that would be that many less starts and stops. That's why the top works out really nice, because you only have one start and one stop on the entire top. And as you work, you'll notice your thread will start twisting. And when it twists, it'll tangle. So what I do when it starts to twist, I turn it like this in my finger, and you notice the twist is now gone. That helps it lay flat, or flat, yeah, reasonably flat, while you get your stitches done. I usually do 2 or 3 stitches, then twist my needle a little bit, then do 2 or 3 stitches, twist my needle, and just keep doing it as I go. That way the yarn does not have a chance to tangle and twist and cause a knot that has to be picked out, because knots are no fun. Okay, I've just one more side and this one will be finished. I'm trying to get this last corner done. And you want to do 2 in it. When you go to the other side, you do 2 in that corner. Just be careful. You don't want to put too many stitches in there to where you break the corner plastic. As you see, I'm still spinning my needle. I figured that out over years of tangles and years of knots. Take the time and turn your needle a little bit. Okay, now when you get ready to finish it, I found the best way to finish is go under and try to catch the yarn under your work. You can feel, kind of hard to see it, but your needle catches inside this little section here, and then you pull it out through the top. It's like when you were finishing the first few, you finish the last one the same way, by going in, turning your work inside out and trying to go through the back threads instead of through the top threads. I don't like putting it through the top threads unless I have no choice. Okay, now let's finish the bottom one. And not forget our jingle bell. I usually set the piece in the beginning. It kind of helps hold it in place while I get the first few stitches figured out here. The last one's always the hardest to do. So you take your time. Cut your tail. And you just keep working. Take your time. There's no hurry. You want to make sure you catch each individual square. And I've done 2 in this corner. Now I gotta pop that up. There we go. Being a little bit smaller block, you can actually hold it in your hand. That helps too. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these finished. We're really getting down to the wire. We've only got 2.5 sides left to go, and then this block will be done. See, I'm setting it on the table. I'm letting the table help steady my hands. See, I didn't twist it, so now I got a little tangle. Twist it a little bit. See, now it doesn't tangle. Okay, get 2 in this end piece. Now drop my bell inside. I do it before I accidentally forget. Hold it any way you can to make it comfortable, where you can control it and get your needle through. As you see, this hasn't taken more than maybe 15 minutes total to get it all finished. Just about there. 2 in the corner. Turn my work and do 2 in the corner again. This is my last side, and then this block will be done. So if you take your time laying your blocks out so you can spell words with them, that helps too, because when the child is holding the blocks, you can show them the letters, and then you can also show them what their name looks like, or their mom's name, or their favorite puppy's name. It's just a great way to teach a little bit of spelling, colors, and letters all at the same time. And dexterity of holding the blocks. The last one's the hardest. There. Okay, then trim it off. There. They're all done now. And you'll be able to find the pattern on my website, which is stitchniche.com. I will have a link hooked to this video, so you'll be able to just click on the link and go straight to the actual pattern on the website, which will make it easier. Also, take your time, go through the website, see what other patterns are out there. I have knit patterns, crochet patterns, kids patterns, ladies, tops patterns, shawls, scarves, hats, mittens. There's a variety of different types of designs on the website. I want to thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this, please subscribe to my videos here. Also hit notifications so when the next one is done, you'll be one of the first to know about it, and please share with your friends. Thank you for watching.